Hello everybody, welcome to today's video, and I would like to show you another important Rook Endgame position, and this one is called Vancura position. So let's get to it. This is how it looks like, and you can actually check your knowledge right here. Do you know how to defend this with black? Do you know where to put the pieces if the white king approaches the pawn? So if you don't, well then, pay close attention. But if you understand the idea behind it, then I'm sure you will remember it and can also then use it in your own games. So, first of all, it's important here to know that the king is best placed on g7. Why? Well, here's the problem. If we approach with the king, then we lose. King e7 runs into a7. And now the king is stranded in the middle of nowhere and cannot reach the safe place here, g7 or h7. It's not close enough to catch a pawn after king e7. White has this cute little maneuver, which you definitely should remember. It's a very nice motive, and wins the rook. He threatens the queen. If black takes, white picks up the rook like this. And actually, there's nothing black can do to stop that. If he goes back to f7, same thing happens, rook h8. So, we want to put the king on g7, first of all. And then we can always stay on g7 or h7, but we can also just play rook moves. If white pushes the pawn forward, then it's very simple. Here, all we need to do is just stay over king on these two squares, and we can simply move the rook here. Honestly, you can just keep your king on g7, and it's a draw. Actually, I might add here that even if white has a g or h pawn, it's still a draw because white cannot make progress. Even if white has a g or h pawn, not both, but if he has one of them, it's still a draw. And for example, here you can just wait, and then once the king protects the pawn and white is threatening to move the rook, then we give checks, and white has nowhere to hide with his king, and it's a simple draw. We can give more checks, we can come back to a2, and there's nothing white can do. So a better try for white is to go king f3. And here the important Vancura maneuver comes into play. Now white wants to bring the king to a7, then free his rook and eventually promote the pawn. What we need to do is stop that. And the way to do it, well, first let me show you what happens if we just wait. If we just play king h7 and wait, then this happens, right? King comes to a7 and white brings the rook out, plays rook b6, plays king b7, a7, a8, and white wins. So we don't want that as black. So what do? We play rook to f1 check. That's the important point. We now bring the rook to the 6th rank, check, king e4, and rook f6. Sorry for the sound of my windows. Important once again that we attack the pawn on a6 so that white is not able to free his rook. He cannot move his rook away from the a file. He needs to keep protecting the rook. And now, okay, white can keep approaching. King d5. But we just keep our rook on the 5th rank. On the 6th rank, excuse me. And then now that white threatens to move the rook, he plays king b5. Now it's quite similar to what we saw before. We're not giving checks this time from behind, but we're giving from the side. So rook f5 check. And that's also why we need to make sure the rook is on f6 and not on g6, because if it was on g6 here, you could imagine then we cannot give a check, and that would be pretty bad. So here we just want to keep on checking. Check, 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 and then once the king moves all the way to d4 again, we keep our eyes on the pawn once more, right? And whenever white goes a7, what do we do here? We go rook a6. That's important. Rook f7 would be a mistake, because white can give a check and then queen. In order to stop that, we need to put the rook on a6. And then white can try to get closer again, but it's the same story we already saw. you give checks from behind, and it is a draw. Alright, so the important thing here to remember is bring your rook over to 6th rank with tempo. You have to do it with check, right? You have to. So if you come back to this position, it would not be smart to play a move like rook e1 here, because then white can once again free his rook. So we want to do it with tempo. We always want to keep our eyes on the pawn, either from this side or from this side, so that the rook on a8 cannot move. Got it? Alright, let me know if you have any questions. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe, and then I'll see you next time. Bye bye.